The Reverend Canon Nigel Biggar, Regius Professor of Moral and Pastoral Theology at Christ Church, Oxford, is a gifted orator who has published 8 books during the 5 decades of his career. A leading authority on religious ethics and an Anglican priest, he is also a senior advisor to the Vatican. With the gift for explaining complex moral concepts, he is much in demand as a public lecturer and commentator on current affairs. Among topics he has recently addressed in newspaper articles have been voluntary euthanasia and assisted suicide, both of which he opposes, military action in Syria, which he supports on moral grounds, Israel's treatment of the Palestinians, he has criticized aspects of it, and Scottish independence, he is against. A leading authority on religious ethics and an Anglican priest, the Reverend Canon Nigel Biggar is also a senior advisor to the Vatican. Although 62-year-old Professor Biggar is generally conservative, his views, like those of most intellectuals, cannot be pigeonholed. Indeed, people of all political persuasions have in recent times taken issue with some of his opinions. For example, he was criticized by many on the right for an article about the murderous attack by Islamic extremists on journalists at the satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo, in Paris, which published cartoons depicting the Prophet Muhammad. It argued that the journalists had neglected their moral duty not to cause gratuitous offense to Muslims. He has also, by way of another example, offended many on the left by supporting the killing of Osama bin Laden by U.S. soldiers, arguing that rough justice is still justice. Having provocative opinions that challenge orthodoxy is what we expect from our great academics and thinkers. Equally, it is an axiom of liberalism that those who disagree should engage in forthright but fair debate. Sadly, that no longer appears to be the case. For Professor Biggar has become the target of a hysterical social media mob for expressing his views on the British Empire. In an article for The Times, he wrote that we must not feel guilty about our colonial history and rebuked those who believe that apologizing for empire is now compulsory, stressing that such attitudes will not help tackle the problems of the modern world. Inevitably, he attracted an avalanche of odium on Facebook and Twitter as keyboard trolls called him racist, bigoted, a gob ******** and an idiot whose work is ill-informed and recalls Hitler and the Nazis. He wrote that we must not feel guilty about our colonial history and rebuked those who believe that apologizing for empire is now compulsory. But some of his fellow Oxford academics were also vehement critics, and this week it emerged that 58 of them had signed an open letter declaring their firm rejection of his agenda. They vowed to boycott Professor Biggar's next research project, accusing him of being breathtakingly politically naive and engaging in very bad history. So what exactly did they find so offensive? Biggar's article had argued that society ought to take a more balanced view of the rights and wrongs of the British Empire, rather than simply treating it as something to be ashamed of. While acknowledging that atrocities had occurred under colonial rule, he said the British Empire had provided law and order to other countries, which many citizens had valued.